It's 2007, and your parents just got you the newly released Orange Box. It comes with 3 Valve titles, but the one you're most excited to play is Team Fortress 2. And it's a fun time, a game unlike anything you've played before. With all the fun characters and addicting gameplay loop, you just can't seem to put it down. But of course, you're playing the Gold Master release of Team Fortress 2, the version you were meant to play. But before almost every game is fully released, there's something that is released to a handful of people beforehand, a beta. And Team Fortress 2 is no different. And there's nothing wrong with the beta, but as the game fully releases, this version is left to rot, with all of its spaghetti code and issues. But let me ask you a question. What if the code became so messed up that it gained sentience? It's alive. Let me introduce you to Beta Fortress, created by Gurkha Boy, a TF2 horror indie game that released not that long ago. And if you have any theories on what's going on in this game, let me know in the comments below. But let's go ahead and get started. When you open the game, the first thing you see is the old TF2 home screen, with right under the title it says alpha.version.1.3.4-unfinished, which is interesting because it's called Beta Fortress, but says alpha, which comes before the beta. And there's not much you can do here. When going to the settings, you can see that it's just a bunch of random jargon with a classic Valve missing texture image. So the first thing to do is, well, go to the tutorial. And from the start, you can already tell something is wrong. You start off in the room as the sniper. The ground has missing textures. You learn basic things like how to jump, and yes, you can b-hop in this game. Not like it's going to help you much. You continue on through the tutorial and come across 2 characters to shoot, the scout and then the enemy sniper, and get an ammo crate. Following this, you go to the next room and you have an ability, which allows you to see enemies through walls. When using this, you get this green effect that surrounds where an enemy is. But when I went up to this enemy, this happened. This was odd, but I continue on. But as soon as I do, this happens. A spy standing behind me kicks me out of the tutorial, with it looking like it has the face of the dead body texture you have probably seen in multiple Source Engine games. When I get kicked out, it sends me back to the home screen where my screen starts to fill up with pixels before slowly returning to normal. Following this, I went to try and find a server, and of course, there was none. So I created one, with the only map available to choose is CTF_train house, where you're told that it will spawn a bot automatically. And this is where the real game begins. You are loaded into a game where you can pick any of the 9 characters. Just kidding, you can't. All the characters are locked out of being played except the sniper, with multiple of the mercs not even able to be seen, and just have a missing texture. When trying to click on one, it'll pop up with an error saying Chiba, and not this one, which felt super creepy to me, and I don't know why. The characters with missing textures will just say file is missing. Some of the characters come with text though. Underneath the pyro, it says his flames are glitching out, might be due to coconut.jpg again, which if you don't know, this calls back to when people found a picture of a coconut in the TF2 game files labeled VTF, which if you don't know, if it's removed, it'll break the game in some way. Spy has a description that says, "Who keeps messing with Spy's code? Why does his bot AI have its own pathfinding behavior written in a completely different language that I have never seen before?" And then Sniper's description is, "Why can't he crouch? He failed the map last time I tried. I'm not touching that. That X-ray ability is extremely unbalanced." The crouching thing I tried, by the way, and I didn't follow the map. But anyway, on to the actual game. So your objective is to get the intelligence and bring it back to your base. Normal CTF, but something is very, very wrong with the other characters in TF2. So I started off the game and I started heading towards the intelligence. As I did, the first thing I tried was the X-ray and saw that there was something or someone watching me. but I could only see them through the X-ray, and I could not reach them because they were out of bounds. Another character was found at the enemy spawn, the scout, but he was just standing there. I grabbed the intelligence and kept moving. I went to deliver the first intelligence, but when I did, I instinctively activated my X-ray, and there was someone close by. But when I got closer to them, I realized they were invisible. I decided to ignore it and kept going, but when I did this happened. Followed by this right after. And as this was happening, the invisible person was following me the entire time. I went to grab the second intelligence, and as soon as I did, something happened. Scout bot was killed by something unknown, and he was gone. I went to deliver the next intelligence, but soon after, things got way, way worse. More noises were happening in the background, and the spy is now trying to get me. When he appears, he makes a decloak noise and starts to make your screen glitch more and more as he gets closer. This is the same spy we saw in the tutorial, as well as the pyro kind of just appearing and standing around in random places. It's terrifying to be followed by all these characters. Luckily, the pyro enemy does not interact and kind of just appears randomly, but the spy character, when he catches up to you, can kill you. If you shoot him though, you can make him go away for a time. I also realized that on the ground I found these giant footprints, but whose they are is unknown. They're just there sometimes around the map. I beat round 1 after getting the intelligence 4 times before being sent to round 2. Immediately, something was different. As I exited spawn, I found a devlog.
Welcome to Team Fortress 2. After 9 years in development, hopefully it will have been worth the wait. Please let me know what you think after you have had a chance to play. I can be reached at gaben@valvesoftware.com, and my favorite class is the Spy. Thanks, and have fun.
The spy being mentioned at the end of this devlog is what caught my attention, but I will theorize on that at the end. In round 2, there are 3 new enemies. The sniper, which just walks at you, so not that much of a threat. He does look a bit different though, with him wearing this long coat and a black mask. The second enemy is a head of a heavy, floating above you or under you, which you have to maintain by shooting at when its eyes turn pink and it starts to hover towards you. It has a lot of forms though, with it usually just sitting there with no eyes, but sometimes it'll have eyes that are pretty creepy to look at, and the one that confused me the most being that when it appears as just a single eyeball. And finally, the scout, which will follow you the whole game, and the only way to make it disappear is by staring at it and walking backwards. This game pretty quickly starts feeling like Five Nights at Freddy's with how much you have to maintain at once. Soon after, I found another devlog.
To accommodate the scout class, maps need open spaces that allow scouts to double jump along paths that the other classes can't navigate.
Shelves often use their speed advantage. Shelves often use their speed advantage. Shelves often use their speed advantage.
And after this, it was just me trying to make my way through all the characters and beat round 2. Round 3 is pretty similar to round 2, except now the heavy is even more active.
You know, the mercs get kind of freaky at night.
That's 2 FNAF references in one video. I'm so cooked. The only new thing I found in round 3 was another devlog. And the thing is, rounds 3 and 4 are practically identical. The main difference is that in round 4, the spy becomes overly aggressive, especially towards the end. So the only thing left is what happens when you beat all 4 rounds. This is what happens. Scan complete. Harmful files found. So what's happened here? What is the story or lore to this game? Well, there's only so much to go off of, but we can make assumptions. First, what is wrong with this game? Well, as I said before, based off the description of this game, the code of TF2 has become sentient. But how? And why? Well, we can see where all fingers point to based on the info we get in the game, with us getting the devlog from Gaben himself, in which he ended off by saying that his favorite character is the spy. Followed by this, we have the description of the spy, in which we learn that someone has written bot and AI pathfinding in a coding language unlike any normal one, and it's confusing one of the developers. Of course, the spy being the first entity we see in the tutorial, and the spy being the most aggressive one at the end of round 4. With this, I will take 2 guesses at what's happening here. The first is a bit of a reach, but I'll just throw it out there. And that the spy character is just the first one to become sentient, and that it became a self-aware AI on its own and corrupted the rest of the beta. But honestly, I don't think that theory is half as interesting as the idea that someone made this happen intentionally. I believe that someone at Valve, whether it being a disgruntled employee or something along those lines, intentionally put malicious code into the game. Something that could lean into the otherworldly and put it into the spy, sort of like a virus, and made the game get infected and become, well, what we see now. But of course, that's just a theory. There's not too much to go off of in this game, but I will say this was pretty scary and a really fun time. I'm really hoping that there will be updates to this game and that we'll get more and more as time goes on. I will link to the game in the description if y'all want to check it out for yourselves, and let me know in the comments what you thought of the game and if there was anything I might have missed or theories you have of your own. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all later.